You spend years building your business, and then one day suddenly your employee uploads your client list to an USB stick. Later you find that one of your competitors is actually growing much faster than he's supposed to. Is this paranoia, or you can do something to prepare for this and prevent? Let's talk about something that no one else talks about, is data theft from inside of your team. Hi, we haven't met before, my name is Klim, and on this channel we talk about productivity, economics, business, and for you to live a more fulfilling life and for your business to thrive. Let me get something straight. Data theft happens in any team. There is nothing you can do, I won't lie to you about. But there are 3 techniques that we'll talk about that will lower it to 99%. So you sleep better at night and you understand that there will be only rare cases where some or small amount of your client data or any data in general will be stolen. And guess what? It's 2025 and right now it doesn't actually matter who you work with. That can be found on your website if you show your partners your best things that can convert other clients into your paying customers, or through LinkedIn or other sources. What matters right now is why they're working with you, what value you're providing, what you're actually doing to them, and what impact you're driving inside of their business or inside their daily life if it's B2C. The relationships, the value that you bring, everything you do with your client is what would determine when they get the cold email from the stolen CRM client base what they will do. So let's talk about one threat that you have in your business, the invisible threat, churn rate. The real threat that most businesses face, even those where actual theft happens, is you don't know where you stand with your clients, and clients silently churn. Sometimes it's too late to implement any of the policies because you have no more clients left because you haven't talked to them. So first thing you can do is implement an NPS survey inside of your client base that can be either automatic or, if it's a B2B enterprise solution, with a person actually going through the survey and asking the questions, something similar to a CASDEF. That will enable you to understand your clients much better and to understand if they're rating you 4 out of 10, they didn't just churn because someone stole your CRM database, it's because you actually did a poor job communicating with them and doing your work. For B2C businesses, constantly run customer sentiment surveys or customer sentiment talks like CASDEFs, where you will try to understand why they're buying, what is the benefits that their business is providing, and what features you should work on. That way, you'll understand why people are actually inside of your business and not with your competitor. And the most important thing to understand is that most client losses actually happen silently. If you don't do anything about it, if you don't talk to your customer, you don't do work before they leave, it will be really hard to get them back. And of course, data theft can give them some other options if they are not satisfied. But if they give you 10 out of 10 on their NPS and their satisfaction, why would they have to leave for another company? They won't, because they're happy and satisfied. Now let's get into the second strategy, and actually it will be with data theft, is the leaks you're actually not seeing. Most vulnerabilities aren't what actually are on open and you're able to see. Most vulnerabilities are something that is very basic and you won't actually think that it's causing some theft or some leaks in your database. If, for example, you have a CRM access which is, I don't know, written on a sticky note on the front screen, or for example, it's 5 people sharing the same CRM access, there is no real way to prevent people from being one of those who take the data and get it for themselves. Well, why? Because people actually won't be punished because they know that 5 people have the same access. Who will know that I did that? You have to dig through the logs, get the IP addresses, it's very hard. So that's one of the ways people actually steal. The same way can happen if, for example, there are cloud documents that are shared with all the team. It's just inevitable, it's like a ticking bomb until that file is shared outside of the work network and all the people can see it. You probably all have been in one of the Google Sheets where it's actually outside of your company, but for some reason you still have access and you can see data that is private and is about a different company. The next thing is freelancers, short hires, and people outside of the work who come as a contractor. So those people actually help your business. You hire them to get the feature out, you get them to help you with the business decision, It's a really important part of any business. The problem is they haven't been working in your company. They're only part-time. And no one knows, especially if you don't have it under control, what happens with access to documents, to other things in your, for example, P&L after they leave. In most cases, people forget that there's some access they have to rework, some account they have to delete from their CRM or something like that. And it just ends up happening that their documents or private research gets leaked. So getting your access in order is very important, and maybe even setting a timer. For example, 1 day for a password which generates by some person or some system if they have access to it. And the third thing is remote and international teams. There is a real big problem, I won't lie to you, especially for US companies, with hiring remote international workers, because it's a legal gray area, because there is no real cases right now where there have been leaks and it has been punished outside of US, and especially if they are not US citizens, because how do you fight with them? How do you fire them? How do you actually prosecute them? If, for example, they stole everything and, I don't know, gave it to a company in China and they're Chinese, well, you can't do anything about it because US government basically has no jurisdiction in China, and this is not a legal access. It's something you have to talk to with your lawyers, with your people in your network to find out if the hire actually makes sense, or you're better off sticking with US nationals or people on the US soil. And the third thing is the protection plan, something that you can actually do. First thing, the most important thing, even though NDAs barely work in the world, it's still important to have them. Have every single employee, every single person that works for your company sign a non-disclosure agreement. It's something that is mandatory, and if you don't do it, you're basically having 50% of the work cut out from you. Because what does NDA do? It actually makes people scared of leaking information, because they have signed a legal binding document where they specifically said they won't do it. So it's like protection from an idiot who wants to do it but is scared. So NDA is #1 protection. The second thing is the principle of least privilege. Only give access to something that is mandatory for their work. Don't give them nice to have access, nice to have things, because those things are what gets stolen if they're not using to day, but have for some reason access to it. The third thing is usage monitoring. Put logs everywhere. Force your IT, your development, your programming team to put logs and tracking on everything. Of course, we live in a world where tracking is looked down on, but in a world of corporate espionage and corporate theft, it's just as important to put as much protection on every single thing that you can, and especially we're talking about logs, downloads, IP addresses, logins, and everything like that. Especially if you find that someone logged in on another account, you have to have a system where it detects that, blocks it, or asks the person to confirm somehow. The third thing is culture is much bigger than incentives. Don't give people a turnaround just because they don't have a contract or don't have a clause where they can't do it. Have a culture where stealing or not being the best employer is actually looked down on. Because if you have a business or a company where there's no culture and everyone is free to steal and do whatever they want, you have a problem much bigger than theft. You have to work on your company and your culture to prevent that just from ground up. And technical walls. Of course, you have to understand that rate limit, de-logout when people are 1 hour into the session, the 2FA, and other things that prevent people from being stupid and actually leaking their data or being phished by stupid emails or something like that is #1 priority. If you do that, that already prevents another 20 to 30% of leaks that are outside of your companies. Because don't forget, we are not only trying to prevent the employees from stealing your data, but also people outside of your company trying to get access to your employees' accounts and then stealing. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, I really hope you protect your company and watch this video that you might find helpful.